The Buddhist way to end people-pleasing. Almost everyone, at some point in life, has fallen into the trap of trying to please others. From childhood, we learn to smile when our parents are happy, to stay silent when we fear criticism, to study hard so we can be praised at school. And as we grow older, that pattern doesn't disappear. We bring it into our work, into our relationships, even into the way we treat ourselves. If others smile at us, we feel safe. If someone disapproves, our mind immediately fills with doubt and worry. Step by step, we are drawn into an invisible cycle, living for recognition rather than living in truth. When we look deeply, the root of people-pleasing is actually very human. The longing to be accepted, loved, and never rejected. No one wants to feel left out. No one enjoys loneliness. But the fear of rejection becomes so powerful that we slowly lose ourselves. We smile when we don't want to smile. We say yes when every part of us wants to say no. We agree outwardly while resisting inside, and the more this inner conflict grows, the more exhausted we become. Over time, we no longer know what is truly ours and what is simply a performance for the world. The Buddha pointed out that the problem doesn't come from others, but from within. At the root lies attachment to the self, the belief that I need to be praised, I need to be loved, I need to be seen by others in order to have value. As long as we cling to this idea, we are never free. It becomes a chain, subtle but unbreakable, tying our happiness to the ever-changing opinions of others. In his teachings, the Buddha reminded us again and again of the impermanence of praise and blame. Today, people may celebrate you. Tomorrow, the same voices can turn against you. Someone may love you in this moment, and in the next moment, they may walk away. Praise and blame are like passing winds, fleeting, unstable, impossible to hold on to. If we place our happiness in them, our life becomes as fragile as a leaf drifting on the current. At first, pleasing others seems harmless. It even feels safe. But over time, it robs us of our deepest freedom. We forget that truth is the foundation of real connection. Yes, others may enjoy our polite masks for a while, but masks eventually fall away. Relationships built on performance do not last. In contrast, authentic connections grow only when we dare to live honestly, even if that honesty doesn't always make everyone happy. On Buddha's wisdom journey, I invite you to reflect with me. If we spend our whole lives trying to make everyone else happy, then who is left to live our own life? If we place the eyes of the world above the voice of our own heart, will we ever taste true freedom? The Buddha's path to liberation does not mean rejecting people or avoiding the world. It means seeing clearly the nature of the mind. When we recognize that the craving for approval is nothing more than a form of attachment, we can begin to loosen its grip. We don't need to run away from others, nor do we need to bend endlessly to please them. We simply return to what is already within us, our natural authenticity, rooted in compassion and wisdom. This kind of freedom is not selfish rebellion. It's not saying, I don't need anyone, I don't care. Instead, it's a quiet, steady freedom, the realization that happiness does not depend on praise or criticism, but on being grounded in our true self. From this space, we can still love, listen, and care deeply for others, but without fear, without the desperate need for validation. Someone who lives this way shines with a unique presence. They are confident but not arrogant, gentle but not submissive. They know how to say yes with clarity and how to say no with kindness. They live honestly while still radiating compassion. This is the middle way that the Buddha described, the path beyond the extremes of clinging to others' approval or isolating ourselves in resistance. When we live only to please, we become like actors who never leave the stage. Yet, no one can wear a mask forever. Eventually, the mask becomes too heavy, and the soul longs for rest. Deep down, every one of us yearns for the freedom to simply be ourselves, simple, unpretentious, without performance. That moment, when we begin to take off the mask, is the first step toward genuine liberation. And here, on Buddha's wisdom journey, we will continue to walk this path together, exploring how to let go of attachment, how to see the invisible chains that bind us, and how to untangle them, step by step. Because the moment we stop living to please others is the moment we begin to truly live, with honesty, wholeness, and freedom. Buddhist wisdom, the path of returning to yourself. On the journey to seek peace, people are often swept away by the craving for recognition. We believe our worth is tied to the eyes of praise and criticism around us. When praised, we feel meaningful. When criticized, it seems as though our entire value collapses. Yet from the Buddhist perspective, this is merely an illusion created by attachment to the self. The Buddha taught about anatta, the truth that the self we cling to has no permanent essence. Our true value does not depend on external approval, but lies in the innate qualities of awareness and compassion. Realizing anatta does not mean denying our existence, but rather seeing that the self is nothing more than a collection of ever-changing elements: body, feelings, thoughts, perceptions. They arise and pass like clouds in the sky, with nothing solid to hold on to. When we truly see this, we no longer need to affirm ourselves through the approval or disapproval of others. For if even this self has no fixed reality, how could outside opinions possibly define our true worth? The practice of mindfulness helps us recognize the moments when we act from fear instead of authenticity. With mindfulness, we pause, look deeply into the mind, and see clearly. Am I doing this to be loved, or because it is truly what I want to do? Often we believe we are being kind, when in fact we are only avoiding rejection. Often we believe we are being forgiving, when beneath it lies anxiety about losing a good image. Mindfulness is like a lamp, illuminating these subtle motivations within, so that we are no longer puppets pulled by strings of fear. Once we see clearly, we can choose to act differently. We learn to let go of automatic reactions aimed only at pleasing others. We learn to return to our inherent sincerity, to speak truthfully when truth is needed, to remain silent when silence is wiser, and to say no when that is what preserves our integrity. This is not selfishness, but a deep form of honesty. Only when we are true to ourselves can we offer others a presence that is genuine, uncalculated, and whole. Within this understanding, compassion must also be seen in a new light. Compassion does not mean trying to make everyone happy, for happiness built on the satisfaction of desire is fragile and fleeting. If we help others only to make them smile or feel temporarily pleased, we may actually feed their attachment. True compassion always walks hand in hand with wisdom, knowing when to support, when to let go, when to speak gently, and when to speak firmly. Sometimes compassion is a warm embrace, but sometimes it is a clear and decisive refusal. It is wisdom that gives depth to compassion. An action can only be called compassionate if it brings lasting benefit to both ourselves and others. If we force a smile just to please, we harm ourselves and foster dependence in others. But if we live truthfully, with an open heart, then even if our words cause momentary disappointment, they offer others the chance to see the truth and grow. This is compassion beyond fleeting emotion. Compassion guided by liberating wisdom. This path is not easy. The habit of pleasing others is deeply ingrained, formed since childhood, and has become an automatic reflex. Each time we are about to say no, our heart races and unease fills us. Yet Buddhism teaches that these very moments are opportunities to practice. Each time we step beyond an old pattern, we loosen another chain of bondage. Each time we dare to live authentically, we take one more step on the journey back to ourselves. Though long, this journey is filled with peace. No longer trapped by fear of rejection, we begin to feel spaciousness within. We discover we do not need to become someone to be loved. We are already whole in the simple fact of being. From this fullness, we can offer love without condition, not a love that demands return, but a love as natural as breath, as radiant as sunlight. Buddhist wisdom does not lead us to something far away. It brings us back to our own being. It reminds us that nothing is more precious than authenticity. When we live truthfully, we free ourselves from the burden of pleasing others. And at the same time, we open the space for them to be themselves as well. This is the greatest gift we can offer to life. A presence that is calm, steady, compassionate, and real. And this is the path of returning to ourselves. The path the Buddha pointed to. The path of anatta, mindfulness, and compassion, illuminated by wisdom. It is not a path that promises universal praise, but it is the one that leads us unfailingly to freedom and peace. Walking the path back to yourself. When we step onto the path of returning to ourselves, the first thing we must learn is to release the identification between self-worth and recognition. Our habits have been shaped for so long. Whenever we do something, our eyes immediately turn outward, searching for feedback. If others praise us, we feel at ease. If they remain silent or criticize, we sink into anxiety and disappointment. Our whole life becomes like a person searching for a mirror, hoping to see their own image reflected in the eyes of others. But those mirrors are always shattered. Each shard reflects only a fragment, never the whole. And yet, we lose our inner wholeness chasing after those broken pieces. In the teachings, the Buddha clearly pointed out that this very attachment is the root of suffering. As long as we believe our worth depends on external validation, we will remain restless. But when we turn inward and recognize that the mind is already luminous, already complete, already lacking nothing, the exhausting search naturally comes to an end. Instead of asking, "What do others think of me?" we begin to ask, "Am I living in alignment with my compassion and wisdom?" Mindfulness allows us to pause before unconscious impulses take over. Each time we are about to say yes, just to preserve a good image in someone's eyes, mindfulness invites us to breathe, to stop, to listen. We ask ourselves, do I truly want to do this? Am I acting from love or merely from fear of disapproval? Just one moment of pausing gives us the chance to act from wisdom rather than fear. And gradually, with each pause, we strengthen a new habit, living true to ourselves. When we live authentically, we discover a strange lightness. We no longer need to strain to prove ourselves, nor carry the heavy burden of trying to please everyone. The world suddenly feels more spacious, because we no longer have to perform. We are free to simply be ourselves, natural and unforced. From that space, we realize that freedom is not something distant, but the very capacity to speak the truth of our hearts in each moment. Yet this freedom does not mean irresponsibility or indifference toward others. Many misunderstand authenticity as doing whatever one wants without caring about consequences. That is not Buddhist wisdom. Buddhism is always rooted in compassion. To live true but not harmful, honest yet gentle, direct but not harsh. That is the balance of wisdom and compassion. Without wisdom, we may use authenticity to justify selfishness. Without compassion, we may use authenticity as an excuse to wound others. The true path must hold both qualities in harmony. True compassion also means we do not harm ourselves. For so long we thought sacrificing our well-being to make others happy was an act of love. But real love never leaves us depleted. If our actions fracture our peace of mind or rob us of inner stillness, then it is no longer compassion, but dependence on praise and blame. Only when our actions arise from stability and inner joy can they truly nourish both ourselves and others. In daily life, we can practice this in small, simple ways. For example, when a friend asks us for help, instead of instantly saying yes to maintain a good image, we can take a deep breath, listen within, and answer truthfully. Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes it is no, but both bring ease if they come from sincerity. And even if our friend feels disappointed in the moment, over time they will come to value the clarity and honesty within the relationship. This practice is not easy, because we are so accustomed to measuring our worth through others' reactions. Yet each day that we return a little more to truthfulness, we take a step forward. The path of returning to ourselves never demands perfection all at once. It is a journey of small steps, mindful moments, and each time we dare to live more authentically. Gradually, we begin to feel a new energy arising in life, the energy of freedom. Freedom is not escape from responsibility, but release from the chains of fear. Without fear binding us, we can act with openness and clarity. We help when we can, and we let go when it is time to let go. We love without clinging. We show up fully in relationships without allowing them to define our worth. Then we come to see that the most precious gift we can offer life is not a version of ourselves approved by everyone, but a human being who is authentic, compassionate, and wise. That authenticity not only liberates us, but also inspires those around us. Seeing us live truthfully, they too will find the courage to live truthfully. And from there, healing begins to spread throughout the community and society. Thus, the journey back to ourselves is not only a personal path, it is also a contribution to collective transformation. When each person dares to take off the mask, the whole world becomes clearer, lighter, and more at peace. This is the very spirit of the Dharma, inner transformation that brings outer peace. Once we begin the path back to ourselves, once we begin walking the path back to ourselves, we gradually realize that life does not require us to become any particular model in order to be loved. True love does not come from trying to please everyone, but from the serene energy that radiates when we live in alignment with our inner authenticity. When we are present in that authenticity, others feel safe, because they no longer have to guess which part is the mask and which part is real. They meet us as we are, simple, unadorned, yet fully alive. Buddhism emphasizes that all suffering arises from attachment and clinging to the self. The people pleaser is no exception. Their nature is to cling to a self that is liked, praised, and accepted. But as the Buddha taught, that self is nothing more than a temporary combination of body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. The 5 aggregates that are always changing. If we use something impermanent as the foundation for happiness, that happiness will inevitably be fragile. Recognizing this does not mean rejecting all relationships, but rather placing them in their proper place. Those who praise us, those who criticize us, they are like temporary mirrors reflecting passing images. Instead of chasing after each reflection, we turn inward to illuminate our own mind. When the mind is clear, we can encounter both praise and blame without being shaken. Praise may come, blame may go, but the mind remains like a still lake, reflecting, yet not clinging. In daily practice, we can cultivate this stability by continually returning to the breath. The breath is the bridge between body and mind. When we breathe mindfully, we remind ourselves, I am here, in this very moment, not swept away by praise or criticism. Each breath affirms that we are already whole in our very being. From there, we are less entangled in the need to prove ourselves, less manipulated by the eyes of the world. Another essential reflection is compassion for ourselves. For so long, we have thought of compassion only as something outward, giving, sacrificing, serving others. Yet without compassion for ourselves, our giving quickly runs dry. The Buddha once taught, if one cannot love oneself, it is difficult to truly love others. Compassion for ourselves is not indulgence, but the ability to listen to the true needs of body and mind, to rest when tired, to protect our inner stillness. Only when we nourish ourselves with compassion can we offer love to others that is pure, without expectation of return. This is especially important in relationships.
How often have we kept silent so that others would be happy, agreed to something we did not want just to keep the peace? Yet the price of that silence is accumulated hurt. One day that hurt may erupt, and the relationship collapses. If, from the beginning, we had enough mindfulness and compassion to speak our truth gently, both we and the other person would have been nourished. Authenticity does not break relationships. It forms the foundation of their resilience. On this journey, challenges are inevitable. When we begin to live authentically, others may not understand. They may blame us, even leave us, because they were accustomed to the pleasing version of us. Yet if we stay steady and patient, false relationships will naturally fall away, leaving only those that truly nourish. That is not a loss. It is a purification. For example, when we begin saying no to unreasonable requests, others may feel upset at first.
But if we hold a compassionate attitude, not judging, only gently protecting our boundaries, they will gradually come to understand. Sometimes our firmness becomes a mirror for them, showing how to live more truthfully with themselves. In this way, by living authentically, we not only free ourselves but also plant seeds of awakening in others. Buddhism always emphasizes the middle way. This also applies to how we respond to people-pleasing. Neither extreme, chasing after praise and blame, nor shutting ourselves off in resistance, is true practice. Instead, we open our hearts while staying grounded within. We love without losing ourselves. The middle way is the art of balancing freedom and connection, individuality and community, truth and compassion. As we walk firmly on this path, we discover a deeper truth. The boundary between self and other is only conceptual. In awareness, the line softens. When we live authentically, our freedom becomes a source of freedom for others. A genuine smile can soothe a suffering heart. A truthful word can open a new doorway for a wandering soul. In the end, returning to ourselves is not a distant destination. It is the act of returning in each moment. Each time we dare to live authentically, we return. Each mindful breath is a return. Each choice of compassion over fear is a return. Every step on this path is a living realization of wisdom and freedom. And that is the greatest gift Buddhism offers us, peace in the here and now, without needing to seek it elsewhere. Buddhist wisdom is not merely a set of teachings to memorize, but a living path of practice that guides us back to our true self. This path, though it may sometimes seem distant, is in fact very close. It begins right here, with this very breath, with the simple act of observing emotions as they arise, with looking deeply into the hidden motives that shape our actions. When we sit quietly and listen inwardly, we often discover that much of what we do carries the mark of fear. Fear of being criticized, fear of being abandoned, fear of not being recognized. And when fear becomes our compass, freedom silently slips away. The Buddha taught that freedom is not found in pleasing everyone, nor in rejecting or isolating ourselves from others. True freedom arises from insight into impermanence and non-self. When we realize that praise and blame, love and hate, are but passing breezes, we no longer let them sweep us away. We can smile at praise without letting it bind us, and we can hear blame without letting it shatter our inner trust in what is real and true. In the practice of mindfulness, each breath and each step becomes a refuge for the heart. We learn to stop running after the old habits of needing to be liked, needing to be loved, or needing to keep others happy. Instead, we turn inward and ask, what is true? What brings genuine peace for myself and others? When an action springs from wisdom and compassion, it is no longer blind people-pleasing. It becomes a gift of authenticity. Some may wonder, if we do not make others happy, then where is compassion? It seems like a reasonable question, yet it reflects a common misunderstanding. Compassion is not the same as yielding to every demand, nor is it about saying yes in all circumstances. True compassion is inseparable from wisdom. It is like a healer who does not always give patients what they want, but rather what will truly help. Sometimes that means a bitter medicine, an uncomfortable truth, or a firm refusal. Yet because it arises from care and understanding, even if difficult at first, it brings genuine benefit in the long run. Living with wisdom helps us discern the difference between kindness rooted in fear and compassion rooted in clarity. Kindness born of fear often leads to exhaustion, resentment, and a sense of being used. It drives us to act not out of freedom, but out of hidden pressure. True compassion, on the other hand, brings lightness, peace, and a quiet joy, because it does not seek to please, it seeks to liberate. Buddhism also reminds us that only by returning to ourselves can we live a meaningful life for others. One who does not care for their own mind, who cannot guard their own freedom and truth, will eventually drown in suffering. They may give a great deal, but their giving will soon run dry. In contrast, a person who knows how to pause, to breathe, to return to their own clarity, naturally radiates peace. From that peace, every action shines with sincerity and healing power. The journey back to oneself is also the journey out of people-pleasing.
Each time we dare to say no when it is necessary, we protect our truth. Each time we choose what is right over what is convenient, we plant seeds of freedom. Each time we set aside the mask of perfection, we create space for relationships that are real, without pretense, without performance. Seen in this way, ending the habit of living to please others is not selfishness. It is the path of balance and wisdom. From here, love has firm roots, no longer shaken by praise or blame. Love is no longer a fragile flame that falters before every gust of wind, but a steady lamp that shines on, illuminating both ourselves and those around us. When someone begins to live like this, they become a living testament to the Buddha's teaching. Without lofty explanations or complicated philosophy, their presence alone speaks. Return to yourself, where freedom, peace, and wisdom are found. And that, more than any words, is the most precious gift we can offer the world. After walking through the long circle of seeking approval, chasing praise, and avoiding blame, we finally realize something simple yet profound. All the things we thought would keep us safe were only waves upon the ocean, fleeting, unstable. The only true refuge that never abandons us is our own mind. The mind that knows how to pause, how to return, how to rest in awareness. Buddhism doesn't ask us to reject the world, nor does it demand that we endlessly please the world. Instead, it invites us to see clearly. Life is impermanent. The self we cling to is without a fixed essence, and everything we seek from outside already lies within us. This is not a truth to blindly believe in. It is a path to practice. Every time you notice yourself saying words you don't mean, agreeing to something that weighs you down, or acting from fear of rejection rather than authenticity, that is already a moment of awakening. In that moment of mindfulness, you hold the power to choose. Continue the old pattern, or take a step toward freedom. Living authentically does not mean being harsh, blunt, or careless. In the Buddhist sense, it means living with both wisdom and compassion. You don't need to hurt others to protect yourself. You don't need to suppress your truth just to win temporary approval. You only need to stand on the ground of mindfulness and ask, does this action bring true peace? Does this word come from love? Does this choice lessen suffering for myself and others? If the answer is yes, that is compassion in its purest form. With each step like this, you begin to untangle the invisible ropes that have tied you for so long. Ropes named, I must be loved, I must be praised, I must make everyone happy. At first, those ropes seem to offer safety, but in truth, they are cages. When you finally see their nature, you don't need to fight them or cut them in anger. You simply see, smile, and gently loosen your grip. Think of the lotus rising from the mud. The lotus does not deny the mud, nor does it cling to it. Yet it does not confuse itself with the mud either. It simply grows, reaches upward, and blossoms in the light. That is our path too. We don't need to reject people. We don't need to bend to everyone's desires. We don't need to run away from the world. We only need to return to ourselves, breathe with awareness, cultivate wisdom and compassion. When we do, freedom naturally blooms like a lotus flower. And only when we taste this freedom can we offer true freedom to others. No longer trapped in the endless cycle of people-pleasing, we begin to build relationships rooted in honesty and care. Spaces where no one needs to wear masks.
Spaces where love is not conditioned by praise or fear of rejection. This is the quiet liberation the Buddha pointed to, a freedom simple, profound, and timeless. So, what happens when one day you finally stop trying to please everyone? The answer is not frightening. It is peaceful. You begin to live as yourself. You breathe as yourself. You act from clarity rather than fear. And in this authenticity, you discover a peace so steady that no praise and no criticism can shake it. This is the essence of the journey we share here on Buddha's Wisdom Journey. The journey back to what is real, what is free, what is unshakable. The path doesn't begin somewhere far away. It begins right here, in this very breath, in this single step of mindfulness, in the courage to live truthfully. Remember, to stop living for the approval of others does not mean you stop loving. On the contrary, it means your love becomes deeper, freer, and unconditional. It becomes love born of wisdom, love that does not cling, love that heals. And when you offer this kind of love to yourself, you have more than enough to share with the world.